Hi there. So today I'm going to take this log which I got from the garden. It's been lurking for a while. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's pretty knackered, so I think it might be a bit of beech. I'm going to trim the bottom off with the bandsaw sled. Right, but I've got this set up on the bandsaw sled with a big axe fence to clamp across the top. And I'm going to give it a go and see if I can actually cut it all off. Like in here. Oh yeah, I think I've got rid of the worst of it. I'll just trim that end up and we'll have a piece of wood to play with. Right, just set the rig up for the other end, put the face mask on and trim this end off. Right, one more use of the bandsaw sled, but in the opposite direction. It seems to work fine that way. A longer clamp, and I'm just going to take off the knobbly bit on the side. I better do something with that bit. Not sure what. Make a clock out of it, perhaps. Right, I've trimmed this up as much as I think I can do. I'm going to try and get it on the lathe now. I need to turn a tenon on the one end that's going to be suitable for this little baby chuck that I bought second hand from a very nice fella. It's got a 3/4 inch 16 TPI thread on it, which suits an old CL3 that I've got at the National Trust at Hewenden, where I volunteer and do some turning there. But it turns out that the thread on the Axminster Revolution series tailstock drive is also 3/4 inch, which works very nicely. So the intention is to turn a hollow form, but to turn a tenon on each end. One end for the special chuck that will go on the tailstock, and one end with some meat to it for the headstock. So I've now marked up some centres using the centre marker. Also use one of these, which I snapped in half accidentally by leaning against it, but stuck it together with an old ruler and a bit of epoxy, which the answer is don't lean on it. Jenny Starbuck from Surrey, Woodturners. Very useful indeed, thank you Jenny. I could do with another one, but I don't think you make them except for club members, and I'm not a club member of Surrey. Right, marked it up, put it on the lathe, get it around and start fiddling. Just going to get the tenon on this end sorted out. Right, enter. If you're okay. I'm using a thin parting tool here to go in at an angle adjacent to the chuck to core out the bottom so that I've got a bevel profile after it comes off the chuck. So there's the piece that's come out, and the theory is I better hollow out from the inside this, glue it back in, and then reform the piece after it's been glued in. Okay, so I've done a little bit of sanding on the inside. It's about 6-7mm thick, and it's not quite such a good fit as I'd wanted because I caught the side of this a bit when I was actually turning. Right, just using a 3/8 inch spindle gouge to shape the outside and trim it down a bit towards the chuck at the tailstock end to start with. Spend a bit of time now trying to get a nice swept curve in at the neck of the vase just to make it feel right. I'm just keeping on refining the shape now, sweeping the main body down into the neck. I'm trying to keep this slight flat spot on the front as a focal point. That's the natural edge. So I'm trying to smooth this off and get a nice profile here, but without completely removing that natural surface. think that's got that profile about right. Now it's blended off the tool marks. Yeah, that feels good. Bit more work to do at this end. I think I'll change the tool rest to a smaller one. Right, I've had a bit of a mare. The base piece didn't stick. I've had some bad epoxy, and the epoxy hasn't gone off. Tried to teach me to buy cheap epoxy. And in cleaning it all up, I've now ended up with a rattle fit rather than a decent fit. So I'm still going to try and use this piece rather than turning a fresh piece, but it's just going to be glued in as a cosmetic piece. So I can't use this structurally now to turn the base with. So I fortunately have sussed out that I can put the regular Axminster chuck drawers on expansion mode. So it's not been what I'd wanted to do, but at least it's worth showing people what I've done. It's a right mess. The epoxy was such a state, just hadn't gone off at all. So I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so I've got it off. Quite nicely finished inside. I believe that these jaws are going to work okay, which are the deep gripper ones. So I've just got to be careful I don't make it explode. So just nip that up. Just trim that up. It's not bad, as long as I don't touch the outside. I'm hoping I'll be okay. I'll just nip that up again. Well, at least this way I can see what I'm doing, even if it does actually mean that at some point it's probably going to fly off the lathe. I've just got a little bit I want to feather out way down in there. So I'll just reverse the lathe so I can see what I'm doing. Move the tool rest in a bit. That got it. Just the last little step inside, so that people with a long finger, that's it. I've taken the little step out where the Forstners were. That's great. That's really good. So that just needs a bit of finishing. Actually, probably that's going to be sandpaper now because this is cracked. Sandpaper, sealer and glue! Right, so I've now got a good finish. Always use any method you've got and not putting your fingers down the hole. So these are my patented gaffer taped and velcroed sanding sticks, 80, 120, 180 and 240. Right, I'm going to try and experiment. This is my version of wipe on poly. So this is 50% polyurethane and 50% white spirit, and everybody in the States raves about it, so I'm just putting it straight on the wood without any cellulose sanding sealer, and the wood's really dry, so I'm hoping this will sort of also stabilise it. It's matte varnish, matte polyurethane, solvent based, so this brush will probably rot in 10 seconds. I had it for years and I've just mixed up a small amount of it with white spirit, and it should have the benefit of going right in, and also I should do it on the inside, just in case anybody's daft enough to actually put water in. So I'll do this from the top first. The bottom is still open at the moment, so the bottom can still have the stuff put in from the bottom. So obviously this is going to dry matte because it's a matte finish, and that's fine because I can always lacquer it and buff it if I choose to. Well, it's going in nicely, which is good. Bringing up the colour, which is quite pleasant. So I shall just let this dry after a couple of coats. Seems to be going in very quickly, which is great. Get it well into those cracks so I can then put some super glue on and not stain the wood too much. Well, that's the first little bit on here rubbed in, still slightly damp. Now going to go from the bottom and coat the inside. Okay, I'm going to just now, I'll put the bung in the chuck, the regular C chucks. I took the bung out, cleaned it up, put it in the bottom. I sanded off the inside a bit so that I could fit it into the jaws. It's all wobbly, and I'm going to now try and see if I can true this up and get a taper on it that will actually fit into the bottom of the hollow form. So it's a very small little bit of wood, but it saves me having to find a piece that colour matches it from the scrap bin where I put all the rest of the stuff. About the right size. Let's take it out the chuck and see if it actually sits and nestles in there. Oh yes, that's going to fit in nicely. Yeah, we'll need a bit of sanding, but I think that's going to go in and that will glue in okay. Excellent. Right, I shall just do that then. After the wipe on poly, a couple of coats of that, matte 50-50. I'll then put 3 coats of melamine lacquer on, and I'm just letting that dry now. I think there might be a few runs because I did it with a brush. I think it'll be okay though. And then buff it up on the buffing wheel system.